Do not you feel the urge to be violent when confronted with lies and injustice? I wouldn't say there's the urge to be violent. One time when I caught somebody out really, really lying, like really terrible lies, I felt it's confusing because I didn't feel like this was my feelings, but you might think that I'm trying to avoid something. But I'm so sensitive to everybody's feelings. If you're an empath, you'll understand. I felt like they wanted me to beat up on them and to hate them and to be violent against them. I feel like when somebody really lies and is really unjust and really does like really terrible things to other people, I feel like there is a part of them that is already punishing themselves in some way. Like they already see themselves as a liar and a cheat. Even though there's another part that doesn't care and is bigger than that, there's another part that hates himself as well. And so one time when I caught someone out, I had this feeling like they wanted that. Like I kept I kept feeling this feeling that is like the normal response, like to be really violent against that person. Like in our society, or in some societies, we really punish people that do things wrong, that lie and cheat. Like we really punish this type of behavior and we really despise it and hate it. And I feel like that's the collective consciousness of what society wants to do. It's to really hurt people that are unjust, because we have such a righteous sense of justice. Like when I was reading this book recently called, I'm sure you've all seen it, The Hunger Games. The whole book is about rectifying injustice. And I could really feel that wave of what we have in humanity, like rectifying injustice. Like a lot of our consciousness goes onto that in politics, in spirituality, even in books that we read. And it was so intriguing to try and read if she would overcome injustice. So I think it's very strong. And so that was one time when that person, I had like this feeling that they wanted me to be like this feeling of violence, but I feel like it was their feeling. I don't feel like it was mine. But apart from that, no, what I have when somebody lies or cheated is what I want, or the desire that arises in me is that I want them to confess, or I want them to be honest. And I presume that's why people are violent against people that lie, because or want to be violent against people that lie, because really what you want is you want them to confess and to be honest, to just tell the truth. And the reason that we want that is because to be truthful, and why lying is such like a horrendous act. It's very violent lying. Like we all lie to an extent. We can't help it because we can't remember what happened, and we tell little tiny lies sometimes because of embarrassment or compassion. But this is like big lies we're talking about here, like cheating on your partner and lying to them about it when they ask you, have you cheated on me? And they say no. The reason that we dislike it so much is that it can make people feel insane, because all of us have empathy and all of us are very sensitive to our environment. There is a few people in society that I suspect aren't, but most people are. And when somebody lies to you on a grand scale, it makes you feel mentally insane. Like if you've ever been with somebody that's lied or cheated to you, like you begin to have feelings that they're lying, but you don't imagine that they could do that. Like we're so trusting, most people, and it begins to make us feel insane. It begins to make us feel bad about ourselves, that we're having thoughts about this person or that we suspect this person. And it's really cruel if you keep repetitively lying to somebody that you love. It's a very cruel act. It can it can send them insane, like feelings of being insane, because they can feel that there's something, and then they keep getting their reality denied. It's like if I put it as an imagination for people, it's like say there's a child. So say I'm sitting here with a child, and there's 4 sofas in this room. You can't see, but there is 4 sofas. Khaleesi is going mad over an insect, if you can hear her. And say this child is sitting next to me, and this child says there's 4 sofas, and I keep saying to her, no, there's 3. There's 3 sofas. And she keeps saying, no, there's 4 sofas, there's 4. And I keep telling her it's 3. Eventually she'll cave in, more than likely, because I'm the adult, and she'll believe me there's only 3 sofas. But it's beginning to create insanity in that child. It's what it's doing is it's denying that child's reality. So the way that our minds think is it thinks logically, and we make these stories in order to navigate an environment. But if we keep telling the other person that they're wrong in their environment, then their ability to make stories crumbles. So I was reading one study that, oh, it's not a study, but I was reading from Carl Jung. He said that if you find out after 40 years that your partner's been lying and cheating to you the whole time, it can have 2 effects. It can, 1, make you go insane, because you cannot formulate a story of yourself and the story of your life. You no longer know what is real or what is happening. And 2, it can give you a spiritual awakening. And I think it's really true. I think that lying is a far more violent act on people than we give credit in our society, because you're denying somebody's perspective on reality, which is playing with their thoughts. So say if, like, I take this little girl again and say I'm her mother, and I keep arguing with my husband, but I don't want the little girl to know. So when the little girl asks me about it, I keep denying to the little girl that I'm arguing with the husband. This is telling this little girl that she can't trust what she thinks, she can't trust what she feels, she can't trust what she experiences, that they're wrong. And so she begins to doubt herself. And this creates the mind going crazy, because the mind keeps saying, no, it is right, no, it's wrong, it's right. And it creates this insanity. And it happens to a lot of people in society. A lot of people do this because they don't know what they feel, they don't know what they experience, so they don't communicate it accurately to the other person. And also because they don't know how else to be. That's the way they've been taught. So it's like our thoughts work logically. So if you keep denying those thoughts, then it begins to make that person believe that they can't trust their thoughts and they can't trust their experience, which is very destabilizing. It leads to insanity. So I think this is why people have such anger towards lies and injustice, because it is really horrible to do that to someone, especially someone you love, which is what most people do it to. It's that you're in love with someone and then you do it to someone you love, or your children. Never deny someone's reality. Try to be as honest and genuine as you can be, even though it's painful. Like sometimes I think I must sound a bit crazy in my talks, because I try to be so honest. Like I couldn't, like even in the answer to you, I had to tell you about that one story where I was sitting with someone who had been lying to me a lot, and then I imagined this violence, and it's like it's so small in comparison to like the last 10 years. But I had to say that because you asked that question. I had to be really precise. But it sounds really weird, that story, to say to you, because if you're not an empath, you most probably think she's in denial. It's her thoughts, it's her feelings. But I'm pretty sure that was their feelings. Like it's all the time when you're an empath that you're feeling other people's feelings and thoughts.